Good morning. Good morning. How are you today? Stopping in the garden to chat with you a little bit before I get on with my day. And thinking about things I need to get done in the garden today. In fact, that's kept me up a lot in the night. Not worry, but, well, I mean, pondering the mysteries of growing things sometimes, but also just wondering how to make things better, especially if I see some trouble. I actually see just a little bit right now. Let me think about what we're doing here or what's happening. I hope you can see the big picture here. And I'm going to talk about the two bamboos in the container. That one, put my finger right there, has some very, I'll bet if I go up to it, it's got dead leaves. That one doesn't. So there's a big difference happening here. My guess is, well, I'll be frank, whenever I have to manually water certain things that I haven't got on irrigation, I always throw a little bit extra in the side of that one, and I didn't with this one. And I'm concerned maybe I was having some irrigation troubles. All is not lost. I will fix that. Are you a bird lover? Those are definitely finches, whatever kind they are. Snacking away, just tearing the leaves out. There are a lot of leaves on those things, and there may be enough for all of us. That little white thing. I always thought it was a weather balloon. It's actually a radar for the border. Looks like a weather balloon. That's the military base over there at the base of the Huachuca Mountains, and that is a radar. Found a potato exposed yesterday at the top, and I didn't realize until much later that I was supposed to be building these bags, building the level of dirt. Two videos that I watched much later after I'd planted them. You do the dirt, you plant the potato, you do the dirt. Well, I didn't know that. I can see why. A lot of whitefly damage, and still whiteflies in there. They're really hard to eradicate. So I don't know if it's almost too late to add dirt, but I might do that today. Just a little bit, or compost. I might do that. Just peek around the corner here at my little watermelon. I will be directing that one this way because I have more trellis here. I think the reason that we put the trellis out a little bit, and this is my idea and design, is so I didn't want to cut this part of the bed off completely from me handling it or accessing it. So I can get there either from this side or I walk around. Same thing over there. I'll be directing the melons up. I'll catch them. They're not going to get too far. You see that dirt kicked up? Not the weeds. I got to get rid of the spurge, I know. Dirt on the blocks. Almost I think that might be a return to whoever was in here digging for worm. Look at that little sunflowers. Looks like he's fighting for light. I don't know why. That's a direct hit from the sun. As usual, per usual. What are those three plants there? And I think there's one in there. Sunflower check. Getting big. I'm not looking for buds yet. I mean, if they come, they come. Oh, hello. Boy, if you're a bird watcher, I'm your man, I think. It's a dove. Female, right? We have so many of them. Yes. You see that quite a bit of dead leaf there, and I'm thinking I've got to make sure that my irrigation is going off. Got to make sure. I adjusted them all one day when it was raining, and I may not have gotten them back on track again. The nasturtium with the variegated leaves is really just popping, isn't it? The leaves, I love it. I've got more seeds. I may have time to plant some more. Is it time to harvest blueberries? I don't know. Seems like a lot of work, doesn't it? I'm happy to have them. Let's go have some coffee. Look what I forgot and left out yesterday. Uh-oh. Not the coffee, just the tripods. Good morning. People certainly go to work early around here. It is 6:02 and they are flying up and down this little tiny two-lane city street. It's not a mega, you know? Either it sounds louder than it is, or I just never realized. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't sleep well. I gotta show you this. Oh, you got to see this. Hang on a minute. Am I right? Let me move the tripod a little closer to me so you can see the second one. What the heck is with these two? The drama of it all. We have a lot of doves here, a lot. We're at my story of doves. Somehow my dad ended up in Phoenix, Arizona in an apartment when I was about 12, 13. My family had split up, parents, everybody was everywhere. There were 3 children and 2 parents, and I ended up living with my dad simply because that's how they worked it out. My sister and I lived with my dad. My brother lived with my mom in New York. But anyway, getting to the doves. He had a little duplex there, and I talked to you a little bit about that with how they did irrigation in Arizona in the 60s. One of the doves has moved, but he or she is still there. The sound of doves reminds me of my father. My dad died in 2003 at age 83. He was a lifelong smoker, and ultimately, it did catch up to him. But where we live, I didn't remember then, couldn't have told you what bird it was. I remember this cooing sound. And I had a hard childhood, in my teen years, and not from my parents or either parent. Oh my, just my choices were just awful. Let's see if I can move this just a little bit. Oh, there they are. I had hard teen years, and my teen years in Phoenix I don't know how I survived them, and they're not the best memories. In fact, I don't know if any were really good. But the doves, the sound of the doves, and my father worked, once he recovered as an alcoholic, he took over a rehab center ultimately as a client, a resident, if you would, of the rehab center, and then ultimately he moved up, and within years he was running it and then owned it. I remember the sound of the doves there too. In Phoenix, the doves. I didn't know they were doves. I just remember the cooing. So to be honest, when I hear the doves, there are times that I wonder, I don't wonder. That's not a thing. There they go. I think about my dad and I wonder, I don't know. Don't let me get silly here. Don't let me get silly. Don't let me get silly with this. But sometimes I don't really think it's my dad, but in a way, I don't know. I guess it's enough to say that they remind me of him. The sound of them reminds me of him. As a teenager, I wasn't paying attention to birds, so I couldn't have told you those were doves. But when I came back here to live in 2020, returned to Arizona, I should say, because I'd never lived actually here. The sound of the doves here, I was like, that reminds me of my dad. So yeah, that relationship was a mixed bag too. Family. Boy, they are really hitting the walls today. They're further down on the wall behind the sunflowers. I don't know if they're sunflower eaters. Sunflower eaters. How are you today? I hope you're having a good day. I read about water shortages this morning. I had been reading about them here in Arizona, and I read more. I believe there are some housing developments in Phoenix that are at a standstill or will not be able to continue unless they offer document proof that they can provide water for the housing areas for the next 100 years. These are newer housing areas that are outside of the normal water delivery lines. There's a lot more to that story, but I'll let you read about it. Obviously, water conservation is huge, huge. When I first bought down here, I bought 3 years ago with the intention of coming here and wintering, snowbirding. I found I couldn't do that for various reasons. One had to do with and the other was financially, I couldn't make it work. Once I bought the house, I already had another condo on the East Coast. My income dropped a little bit. As a writer, my income dropped a little bit. The market changed, and I just couldn't make the trips out. Digressing here. I truly wanted property. I wanted 4 acres, and there was an interesting little place. It was interesting on paper. I actually went to see it recently, and it's just as crowded. They might have a few more feet. I don't know. It felt really crowded to me. Well, that fell through. I'd put in an offer, but their well water was contaminated, and they didn't disclose it. And they had re-roofed the house, and they were roofers and only gave a year guarantee. It just felt like it was getting sketchier and sketchier, so I'm like, not gonna go through with that. I ended up buying in town, but I had read the story of a woman out in Wilcox, which is along I-10 heading toward New Mexico, who had bought a home with a well and ran out of water, and so it cost her at least $10,000, I believe, to get more water, and it kept running out, and agribusiness was a lot of nut farms in that area, a lot of nut farms out. It's a big thing here. not peaches, not citrus, nut farms. She couldn't compete with agribusinesses drawing of the water because they could afford to keep drilling further. So I gave up my idea of having 4 acres. I dreamed of places to buy. I saw them, but I was not sure I could ever sustain them. And that is happening out here. It's happening up in the outskirts of Phoenix. Is that if you don't have water, a reliable source of water that you can tap into and know that you've got it for a long time, you may run out. I think that happened. I think I read about that up in Alpine as well, which is in the mountains. And some people bought property there and the water ran out and they couldn't, there was no more to get, no more in their wells. Here I am in town getting water piped in. I do try to be cautious with it though. The drip irrigation is very helpful, and I don't water my sidewalk as I've seen other people do, wash off my sidewalk. About you all, are you having water problems as well? I know a lot of us are. You might think I'm hypocritical, and maybe I am. My front is xeriscape. The back behind my wall has nothing. In fact, I want to work on that project. The back behind my wall is kind of between me and the city. I don't know, but a lot of people maintain their own. I'd like to plant some truly xeriscape things out there, and I'm just brainstorming just what exactly would be just super perfect for me. I mentioned to you that I think I want to plant cactus out there, but I don't like to handle cactus. There's red yucca I could do that don't require a lot of water, or if any. There's white Adam's needle yucca. I don't have a way to get water to it other than climb on a step stool and shoot my hose over the edge. And I did that last year, but I planted some beautiful lantana. They all died. I simply couldn't keep up the water requirement. I tried once a day. I'd get on my step stool and water over the fence on one side, go down here, water again. But I just couldn't sustain it. And then I think maybe I need to plant closer to when the monsoons begin, if they do, which somewhere around the 15th of June would be the season. That way they can just water stuff in while but they can also carry things away and flood stuff. So it's on my mind, and every day I want to go to the store and start really getting serious about buying some xeriscape, some really drought tolerant, desert tolerant plants for the back there. And then I stall. I worked out there the other day picking weeds, and I believe I showed you one clip, and I'll probably show you some more. I wasn't comfortable. The people go by and they're watching me. But also I think it was the fact that I had a camera out there if they were really watching. That's a good question. How are you guys with having people watch your garden? We all have our little backyards, I suppose. Do you have neighbors popping over the wall, asking what you're doing, inquiring, being nosy, or just being neighborly, or just being friendly? Do you have people commenting on your front yard, negatively, positively, critically, with better ideas? I have to go inside for a bit. I'm actually carrying the phone on the tripod. So the tripod's kind of big. Look at that little thing highlighted. Oh, look at those were already on the house, those solar lights. You know, I've never replaced the batteries on those, and they just keep working. The sun is coming through there and lighting this up and lighting that up. And I may have shown you already, it is 55 degrees out this morning, which is great. It did get really hot. Thanks for chatting with me this morning. Talk to you soon.